Hopefully this video is going to help reduce your driving anxiety or fear or nerves. Whatever you want to call it, it's basically an emotion that makes learning to drive really quite hard. It affects different people more than others, and it affects different people in different ways. For some people, they may hold the wheel really tightly, they may sweat, they may shake, a combination of all those things. They may be worried about everything around them, so they're looking around them all the time and not looking where they're going, so they end up driving down the road all over the place. And it can even make learner drivers shut down from their driving instructor because they're so anxious that they don't hear what's going on. They're in the moment and nothing can enter their ears. But there's one thing I'm sure of. If you ignore it, if you pretend it doesn't exist, it's gonna probably get the better of you, or at least make your job of learning to drive, or should I say the task of learning to drive, a lot harder. One thing you can do to help yourself is try to figure out what is making you feel the way you do. Write it down. Write down a list of what worries you and then rationalize it. Think about, why does that worry me? Is it rational that it worries me? Is it irrational? Both are okay. Just try and figure out exactly how you feel and why you feel that way. Because normally, once you figure out what's affecting you, you have more control of the situation. An example, this can be a good example. Let's say, this happens to me sometimes, maybe it happens to you. Let's say you're feeling a bit grumpy. You feel a bit grumpy, this happens to me, and I can't figure out why. I just feel a little bit annoyed. My other half will say to me, "What's wrong?" I'll be like, "Nothing." I generally don't know what's wrong. But if I then try and figure out why it is I feel that way, quite often I think, that's rather silly, why am I bothering? Not all the time though. Quite often it's very rational and you go, oh yeah, that's why. But in knowing that actually can change your mood, because you're aware of what's happening to you. You need to become aware of what's controlling you before you can control it and control yourself. A very common cause of this anxiety is worrying about holding people up. And I need to tell you this now, and I say this to my customers, you have to accept that when you're learning to drive, you're going to be slow. Going slow is actually the key to learning it, and you are going to hold people up. Most people, more than 99% of people, definitely more than 99%, do have a lot of patience, and they wait until there's a safe place to pass and they pass. And I tend to take people in locations when they're slow where they're not going to be holding too many people up anyway, and we start and stop a lot, not only for practice when it comes to starting and stopping, but also to let people pass. And if someone's going to get the hump for my customer driving slowly, I don't really care for it. I'm going to give my customer lots of support. I'm going to tell them that they're doing fine. That's exactly what they need to be doing. They're driving at their own speed. The person behind's not going to be stuck behind us for long, because we will pull over or we will turn left, because we tend to drive around in circles at the beginning. And also, would you be angry with, say, a small child who's just learning to walk, walking slowly? Or even an elderly person in a shop walking slowly? Are you going to start shouting at them? Probably not. It's not ideal being stuck behind someone, and don't get me wrong, I don't particularly like being stuck behind someone slow when I need to get somewhere, but I don't give them aggro, I don't harass them. People who harass others for doing such minor things that they probably did themselves once, they're not high on my priority list when it comes to trying to help them out, should I say. Also, be realistic when you're learning to drive. If you have a cousin who's learned in 20 hours, don't necessarily expect yourself to learn in 20 hours. Everybody learns at different speeds. In fact, few people do learn in 20 hours. And if they do, most of the time it's because they've had help elsewhere and other experience, maybe driving their friend or family member's car. Collingwood Insurance will help you with that. I'll tell you about that later. If you are focusing on the task at hand, driving, you are now putting all of your energy into improving that task. If you're worrying about other things, now that's a distraction. That's going to distract you from the task at hand. So understanding what causes you to be anxious, whether you're learning to drive or an experienced driver, can help you immensely, but it doesn't change how you feel just like that. You can't change how you feel. You just got to accept that it's okay and normal, and find a way you can carry on whilst feeling like that. Find a way you can do what you're trying to do. Maybe start off in easier locations and gradually build yourself up. Your confidence will come. So understanding it and rationalizing it will help a lot. If you're with a driving instructor, they can help you a lot as well. They can give you positive support. If they're not giving you positive support, that's not going to help increase your confidence and reduce your anxiety. If they're just blurting out what you're doing wrong all the time, that's going to have a negative impact on you. They shouldn't lie to you. They shouldn't tell you you're doing well when you're not, because you're not silly. You probably can figure that out. You probably know if you're doing badly, even if they tell you you're doing well. But even worse than that, that could lead you to believe you're great at driving when you're actually really bad. And there's nothing worse than a confident driver who's bad. The sort of encouragement your driving instructor should give you is to ensure that other people struggle just like you are. Other people feel the same way you do. That's going to make you feel better. And to point out that certain things are hard to learn and to give you the time to learn it. So instead of just lying to you and say, oh, you did all right there when you know you really messed up, is to say, don't worry, you'll get it next time, or we'll go and practice that over there and then maybe next time we can get it. That kind of support. Positive reinforcement to build on what you already know, as opposed to just saying, oh, well done, every 5 seconds. One way I help people increase their confidence and reduce their anxiety is by trying to start a positive feedback loop. And what I mean by a positive feedback loop is I'll try and get them to do something successfully. So I will set a goal that I think is realistic, that they will be able to achieve. And it's going to be simple, it's going to be easy and very realistic. And I'll take them somewhere where they're able to achieve that as well. And when they achieve that, they've achieved something, they've had success. And what's great about success is it reduces anxiety and it leads to confidence. And confidence leads to success. And then success leads to confidence, which leads to more success. And you have this positive feedback loop which snowballs. And it can work the other ways. This is why I like to set my customers' goals. I set goals for my pupils. I have a syllabus. I go through it with them. I don't really believe in getting pupils to set their own goals, as I'm advised to do by so many people and the industry, because quite often it works the other way. They'll set a goal that's totally unrealistic, which of course they're not going to achieve, which leads to failure, which leads to frustration and possibly anxiety, which only leads to more failure. So what I consider part of my job and part of my expertise as a driving instructor is knowing what's realistic for someone, knowing what they're realistically able to achieve, not only helping them achieve it, but guiding them in a way which means that their driving lessons are more of a, hopefully a happy experience and less of a frustrating one. If you're really struggling and you don't think you're making progress, it is probably because what you're trying to do is too hard. There is most likely, and in my experience, for people I teach, there's always a level at which they can handle. And it's about finding that level and allowing them to drive at that level. And when I'm talking about level, I'm talking about level of difficulty. You just got to go somewhere easier. You've got to do something easier. And once that person is now being successful and they are starting to do it well, they will start to grow and they will get better. Confidence will increase. Anxiety will hopefully reduce. If I try to stretch them too much or push them too far too quickly, that often leads to more problems. Some people are okay with that. Some people I can push quite far, quite quickly, and it's like water off a duck's back. They drive badly, but it doesn't really bother them. They just keep trying and eventually get it right, and they don't lose confidence. But they're the minority. Most people that would affect them negatively. If I push them too quick, too early, they're more likely to snap. It's like stretching something too quickly, you're more likely to snap it. You need to give yourself the chance to grow and improve, and your instructor needs to give you the chance to grow as well. People grow with their abilities, their confidence grows, and their anxiety, fears and nerves hopefully reduce. So to summarize, how do I recommend you deal with anxiety? Accept that it's there, accept that it's normal, and you're not going to get rid of it by reading a book or watching a video. You can only take steps to help you progress and hopefully reduce it. Understand it. Understand why it's there, what causes it, and rationalize it. Think about it. Think, is it really realistic, or should I say rational, to be worried about such things? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And if it is, that's fine. You're going to live with it, but you're going to find a way to continue. And you can find your way to continue by driving or learning in areas that you feel comfortable with, doing things that you feel comfortable with. There are things that you're going to feel uncomfortable with, and it's better to gradually venture into those areas than to drop very quickly into them. So my other advice is, do something that's easy enough for you to succeed in, and gradually build yourself up and let your confidence grow. If you're finding it too hard, do something easier. If you're getting frustrated, do something easier. If your driving instructor is getting frustrated, again, it's too much. You need to do something easier and then let yourself get better. I keep saying it, but for me, that's normally the secret. I've tried many things, breathing, all this stuff, but realistically, at the end of the day, it is just about starting at a level someone can handle and gradually building them up. Some people do really suffer with anxiety, in which case it just takes longer. It takes longer for them to build up their confidence. But generally speaking, they do tend to still get there. Just have to wait a bit longer, that's all. I'm sorry there's no quick, easy fix, and what I've told you is just what I've learned over more than 11 years of teaching people to drive via trial and error to see what works, and that tends to give me the success. I'm not a psychologist, it's just experience of being a driving instructor. If you think the video helps, please give it a thumbs up and check out my sponsors Collingwood and Confused.com. If you're learning to drive, getting extra practice with a friend or family member does reduce how much time you need with a driving instructor. People who learn more quickly with me generally learn more quickly because they've had additional experience. And Collingwood are great at helping you get that experience because you can insure yourself on a friend or family member's car without affecting their policy. They have short-term policies and long-term policies, and if you cancel the long-term policy, you actually get a refund for the remainder of the policy. So look at both. If you use the link, there's 35% off at the moment, and you get a £20 Amazon gift card. It also supports the channel if you use the link too. I do recommend you compare your quotes though. Don't just go to one insurer. I recommend going to Confused.com as well to see if you can get a cheaper price, because they generally are very cheap. Using the link in the description will support this channel. If you want to get my future videos, please subscribe, and until the next one, cheerio.